Moving day is in the books at the 2023 CrossFit Games. Ton of movement on the leaderboards, a lot of excitement happening in the events itself. On the women's side, you got Emma Lawson leading after 9 events. Really solid day for her. I think she had top 10, seventh in the run, came out winning event 8 within the intervals, and then did what she needed to do in the Olympic lift to really stay ahead of Laura Horvath and making that push there. Second up, Laura Horvath is in second place. She won the lift, really impressive fashion. She's one of the athletes that I wish we saw 3 lifts from to see that go through there. And again, setting her up for a really solid set or Sunday again for herself. So Horvath's in contention. Last year she came out, won 2 events. I think she took 270 out of 300 points last year at the CrossFit Games. So maybe Sunday sets up well for her. Although depending on how those sandbags play, it could be a battle back and forth between her and Lawson going into the events 11. Ariel Lowen, third place, just has a super steady weekend. Nothing outside the top 20. She had a second, 2 third places today in the run in the intervals. So she continues to be really stellar over the course of the weekend. And then rounding out the top 5, you got Raptis and Megala. Both of them kind of have a bit of up and down days. Nothing really spectacular stood out, at least to me, about from either of them. Then rounding out the top 10, Alex Suzanne, Annie Thorsdottir, Emma Carey, Emma Tall, and Katrin Daviddottir. I think both Emma Carey and Emma Tall had really impressive days as well. Emma Carey's had some up and downs over the weekend, so for her to bounce back in the intervals, which is really going to be a wheelhouse workout for her. Really the open style inside the Coliseum, just kind of your standard CrossFit. Emma Carey's going to excel there, and she did. Emma Tall, a little bit of a struggle on the run, probably to be a bit expected, but then again came through with the 5th place finish in the intervals as well to keep her up in the top 10. So steady performance for her over the course of the weekend. Bottom half of the top 20 on the women's side, you got Jamie Simmons sitting in 11th. Really good to see her back in contention there with that. Lift hurt her a bit, which kind of to be expected, but hopefully we can see a big thing from her. Maybe push her up into the top 10 on Sunday. Emily Rolfe sitting in 13th. She won the run, won how she was supposed to, struggled on the lift like she was going to. So really what we expected out of her. But again, to see her sitting in 13th heading into the final day, really awesome to see given the emergency surgery she's had this year or last year and the comeback road. So to see her in really her best position going into a Sunday, awesome for Emily Rolfe. Then continuing down, jumping over a few spots, you got Daniel Brandon finished the day in 15th. Olivia Kerstetter was outside the cut line looking in the Olympic total, did what she needed to do to come in. And then in 20th place, Shelby Neal, just super fun to watch. Like, everybody needs a little Shelby Neal energy in their life. She's just genuinely happy to be there. Super excited for all the outcomes and really is just taking it in as a rookie, which is really all you could ask for out of anybody. Taking a look at the men's side, Roman Karnikov still sits in first, but has had a tremendous amount chopped out of his lead. So going into today, he started out the run 100 points up on second place Chandler Smith at the time, and then has just made a couple mental errors, had a little bit of a breakdown within the lift. And so he sees going into Sunday with only a 13-point lead. So to go from what we expected to be a runaway finish for him at the end of yesterday to being in a neck-to-neck run with Adler on Sunday, it's going to be exciting. I think Adler's definitely got some advantage going into Sunday, a little bit more momentum behind him after the day that he put together. But again, 3 events, anything can happen at the CrossFit Games. Got Adler in second, took second in the run, 4th in the lift. So really impressive day for him to push him up the leaderboard. In 3rd place, you got Chandler Smith. Again, he had a solid day. 12th was his worst event finish in intervals, which actually I expected him to do better. When it comes to the open, Chandler Smith, anything that has box jumps or Berkeley box jump overs is really in his wheelhouse. So would have expected more of a, 8th, 7th for him coming into this event. But again, he's positioned himself well. He's in a podium spot going into Sunday. After Chandler Smith, you got a couple Canadians in the hunt. So Patrick Vellner climbed his way up to fourth place after a real roller coaster of a start. So having a 10th, a first, and a 12th for Vellner, really great to see. I think Vellner, that interval workout was totally a wheelhouse event for him as well, and he was head and shoulders above the field. And then Fikowski sitting there in fifth place, really just putting one foot forward in front of another. I don't think there was anything spectacular today. He rebounded well within the Olympic lifting event after missing his first snatch, but again, positions him well for another top 5 event finish at the CrossFit Games. Rounding out the top 10, sixth place, you got Jay Crouch. Again, was holding steady to be in that conversation when everybody above him was in a legitimate contender list. So to find himself in sixth, this is a guy who's never made it to Sunday before. So for him to not just be going into Sunday, but to be in that final grouping, great for him. You got Bailey Martin, another Torian Pro qualifier. He's sitting in seventh. Again, another solid day for him. Just kind of keeps pushing through, nothing spectacular, but getting the job done, which is really just what you need to do at the CrossFit Games to finish up in the top 10. And then you got BKG, Lazar Ducic, and Jelle Hoste finishing out the top 10. BKG, real question marks for him going into Sunday. I don't know if he will be able to compete after that Olympic lift of 95 pounds on the bar both times. So hopefully he's okay. He can ice, heat, cup, whatever needs to be done for him to get him in a position to compete on Sunday. 11th through 20th on the men's side, you got Dallin Pepper, Jonah Koski, Will Morad. I think all 3 of those guys just right in the mix. Obviously Koski and Morad had the good runs. Pepper's, again, positioning him well. Hopefully he can break into the top 10 tomorrow as well. Just based off of how he's competing this weekend, it's definitely a possibility. He seems to get stronger and more confident as the weekend progresses. You got Medeiros in 14th. I don't know what to say with Medeiros at this point. 285 on the snatch seemed to be record-setting for him just based off the struggles we've had. But, that's same was what he hit in semifinals. I think he hit 285 back at the CrossFit Games in 2021, which was a PR for him at that point. So it seemed like a real struggle for him to get to that, which might be the mental victory he needs to go into Sunday. You got Spencer Padgett in 15th, Colton Mertens in 16th, which just super impressive for Mertens. This is a guy who hasn't made it inside the top 32 years in a row. So to be sitting in 16th going into Sunday, great for him. I didn't expect him to make him out to the first cuts, in all honesty. So to see him pushing the limits there, good for Mertens. Good to see everything that he's gone through this year. And then definitely gives the fans something to cheer for on Sunday since he is a fan favorite. And then after that, you got Noah Olson, Nick Matthews, Sam Quant, and Aldous Upnicks. To see Matthew and Quant in the conversation for tomorrow is great to see. Like, both those guys had some lackluster events to start the weekend, but chipped their way through and were really consistent and were able to crack the top 20. So based off of how they started the weekend, it was great to see that they were able to just continue pushing through, didn't get discouraged, and did what they needed to do to make it to Sunday. Looking at the events themselves, so we started the day with a 5K. Not really a lot to go on with this one. It was interesting to see really that top group just stick together on the men's side for most of the way through. You could tell Adler was pushing the pace. He probably got into Krenikov's head in the 400 meters runs yesterday, so probably enjoying just sitting on his back shoulder for the first couple laps, pushing the pace. And then really fun kick at the end from Hoste to take his first event win as a rookie at the CrossFit Games. Just, had those long strides and give him something to remember by, and hopefully a top 10 overall finish from as well, but to take away a event win in his first games. Really great to see that. Krenikov having that last push there. I thought him and Vellner were pretty cooked going into that last lap. Both of them seemed to be pushing the limits right from the very start to hang with that top group. But to see Krenikov push it past Ducic, only give up 4 points to Adler on the run, did show big there. I don't know how much of that caused some of the fatigue or mental errors that happen in intervals, but I know we'll wait and see. But again, Krenikov was doing what he needed to do to stay in the fight there. And then Vellner, again, seeing him fall off the the pace so badly on that last lap. I don't know if that was just a matter of him keeping up, going too fast out of the gate. He did have a watch, and there's definitely several points within the race that he was checking his pace. Now, whether he just threw caution to the wind and decided to run with the leaders and see if he could hang on, or if he just ran his own pace, and once everybody sped up through the final half of the 5K or the final half of that last lap, he kind of just stayed steady and ran his own race, knowing that he had some other events that he could excel at later on. So don't really know. I'm sure he will tell us in his recaps that he does after the game, but it could go either way. He might have been a conscious decision to hold back. On the women's side, you had Emily Rolfe take it by quite a considerable amount. She was supposed to, especially with some of the other athletes like Garns getting cut yesterday. This was really, for her, I guess for her, it's probably good that it was a mass start, just so she wasn't out by herself. She could pace herself with I think the third pack of men that was on the field. So I think she was just kind of tailing BKG for most of it. Overall, though, from an event standpoint, really disappointed to see the lack of coverage on the women's side. If you are going to run both of them at the same time, to not have any cameras on the women except for a wide angle lens that you could kind of pick Rolf out from the group, thought that was pretty bad on CrossFit. It was like a 20-minute event, so you could easily fit in the two heats to give proper coverage to both the men and the women. So hopefully that's a takeaway that they have last year. Could have been one of those hard decisions that were discussed about in the press conference on Wednesday, but I don't know, a little disappointing to not be able to see much of the women's fields beside the sprint to the finish. But top three, you had Emily Rolfe, Katrin David's daughter, and Ariel Lowen. Moving on to intervals, start on the women's side. So you had Emma Lawson take it again. So second event win for her this season, really kind of pushed her through. It was great to see her just kind of lead the pack both ways throughout the entire thing. Emma Carey finished second. It was, again, wheelhouse for her, and she's going to excel in just kind of your stereotypical CrossFit in the Coliseum. Nothing out of the ordinary, just to see her push through. And again, Ariel Lowen finished third. Really just a steady type of performance for her throughout the event. Also on the women's side, Emma Tall, I think, showed really strong with a fifth place finish there. I think she was in the final heat, so to kind of be sticking with the leaders of the event to finish up in the fifth place, great to see. A little surprised to see Alexis Raptis sitting down in 12th after that event. I don't know if we've really found what her type of wheelhouse events are, but again, like, it was kind of your pure CrossFit, so you would have expected, just based off where she's sitting in the standings, to be a little bit closer to the top of the leaderboard as we go through. I guess within the first heat, Sydney Wells also looked really good, and Shelby Neal really pushing the limits there. So both of them looked really good. Again, very different athletes going into it. Sydney Wells really kind of just coasted over some of the boxes where you saw Neal just absolutely push the roar and able to catch up with the rest of the field. On the men's side of intervals, you just had Patrick Vellner just absolutely dominate it, just with the walk-off finish. I think he was 30 seconds ahead of Koski, who finished second in the event. So again, great to see Vellner be able to kind of just flash his brilliance at certain times within the competition. Probably too late to get him on top of the podium for Fittest on Earth, but definitely positions him well to, again, finish top 5, and maybe we'll see him on the podium again this year. Third place, you had Bailey Martin. Again, a really solid performance for him. He continues to really impress me within his rookie campaign. Thought he would have a strong showing. Definitely had expected him to make the Saturday cuts, but to push for the Sunday cuts and be in the final heat going into Sunday, it's awesome to see him from a rookie standpoint. Just shows the bench strength that they've had within Oceania the last few years. And to see him kind of push through. I think he just missed out last year thanks to a yoke carry that really kind of pushed him down in the standings. Last event of the day, we had the Olympic total under the lights in the Coliseum Saturday night. What a great way to end it off, especially with on the men's side, Farlow and Bronislaw just putting on an absolute show at the start. It was a shame that we did have heats, and so they were in platforms 15 and 4 or 1 or 15 and 14. So lifting first within that first heat, but just absolutely electric to see the amount of weight that they put up. Super happy for both of them to be able to have that moment. I think they were both a little touch and go whether or not they were going to make the top 30, but great to see. Super happy for Jack Farlow. Had the opportunity to see him lift at the CanWest Games last year, and just can absolutely lift a house, which he showed us today. And so for him to get that event win under his belt in his rookie year, and can take that and build on that, just, phenomenal for him. On the men's side, I don't really think anything really stood out. I think Fikowski bouncing back from missing a lift showed good for him. Sprague missed a couple of lifts there, so he was able to put in a decent total for him within his rookie year. But everybody else really kind of lifted where we expected them to do. I don't think really anybody missed big on the men's side. I guess the really big question mark was seeing BKG put up 95 pounds for both the snatch and the clean and jerk. So whatever is bothering him there, hopefully he is able to, heat, ice, cup, acupuncture, whatever he needs to do to be able to compete tomorrow. Hopefully he is able to do so. On the women's side, Laura Horvath just absolutely put on a show as well, putting up a total of 470 pounds on her lift. So I think she did 205 and 265. Just absolutely phenomenal there. She went into the last lift, didn't need to do it, but still did to put on a show under the lights. Similar to kind of the men's side, seeing Colin Brander and Barnhart in the first heat was kind of a bit of a letdown, but really that's kind of where their event took them. So good for them to put up good numbers going into this event. I don't think either of them made the cut, so at least they have that to build on. Otherwise, on the women's side, I think a little bit of a scary moment where Jamie Simmons kind of tweaked her elbow within one of her snatches. In typical CrossFitter fashion, she tested it out by doing some handstand holds on her lifting platform as the other lifters went through. So it was good to see her be able to put some weight on it and go in. So hopefully she is able to continue tomorrow with that first event with the muscle ups and the sandbag carries. I think it will be good for her. I think she'll be right up there and probably a top 5 finish for her going into that event. Just it suits her well. So it's good to see her come through. And then the big shining moment, having Olivia Kerstetter. She was on the outside looking in, put up a big lift where she was 7th in the event or 6th in the event. So for her to do that, push her above the cut line, awesome for her at 17 going into Sunday. And then again, Shelby Neal, just absolutely pure excitement after hitting those lifts there. So just seeing that energy and excitement is awesome to see in the sport of CrossFit as a rookie. So should be an exciting day for tomorrow. Anything can really happen on both sides, which as a fan of the sport is what you want to see. We had so many years of just absolutely impressive performances by Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey being the best of the best, that it is nice to see a race. Obviously, seeing the greatest of all time do their thing is also a treat that we'll be able to look back on. But to have races on both sides going into Sunday, it's what makes sports great. So with that, thanks again. I hope you enjoy Sunday. If you made it this far, please hit subscribe. Helps us out a lot. And with that, thanks for listening and have a great day.